Hi, this is my review of Mutants and Masterminds Deluxe Heroes Handbook. This is the third edition of Mutants and Masterminds. Mutants and Masterminds is basically a superhero RPG, but it runs using a modified, tweaked, or even streamlined version of the D20 system. Well, let's talk about the quality of the PDF first. This is an excellent PDF. It has some pretty amazing illustrations, very evocative of the genre, with a lot of action scenes and cool looking superheroes and villains. Some of them are tributes to many famous superheroes and even video game characters. There's an illustration of someone who kind of looks like a palette swapped Ryu from Street Fighter. And the book has pretty good illustrations and organization. You have a virtual table of contents, an index, hyperlinks, a character sheet, and tables. You have everything you need to play. Well, let's talk about the content. This handbook is a very good introduction for those who have never played a superhero RPG before, or even an RPG. So, because it tells you everything from the basics to the finer points. And you need very few things to play this game. You need just the player's handbook, 20-sided die, and some paper and pencils. And the mechanic is very simple. You use a D20 for everything. You roll a 20-sided die and you add some modifiers, and that's the core mechanic for almost everything. So it's a very streamlined version of the D20 system. Now, I think there are some crunchy things, some complex and deep things when it comes to running the system, and that's the different conditions your hero will be put under when he's attacked by some kind of special power or ability. There are quite a few conditions that you will have to understand, and that will affect you during combat or in other situations. And that's the thing that I consider the most complex thing of running the game. But once you get the hang of it, after a few sessions, you're going to remember a lot of those conditions, and you can always print them out and have them close at hand, so you don't have to check the rulebook all the time. And now, when you create your hero, that is a very elaborate process as well, but at the same time it's very exciting, because you feel like you're choosing a lot of cool things from a menu. You choose you think of a hero concept, and then you start thinking about what kind of powers, skills, and abilities you want your hero to have, according to the campaign you are playing in, or a series, let's call it like that, because it feels very much like a comic book. You will have different amount of power points according to the power level that you will be playing on. So for example, if you're playing a sort of like a campaign with a kind of like street-based heroes, you're going to have around 5 or 8 power level of points to spend. But you can also play games that have a power level of 10 or 20, and that's when you play as superheroes like Spider-Man or Batman or even Superman. So you have all these points, and you start purchasing abilities and skills and advantages and powers, of course. Now, abilities are pretty standard. You have your agility, stamina, strength, etc. And skills are also pretty self-explanatory. They are basically like focused tasks, things where your character does things like acrobatics, investigation, etc. Now, when it comes to advantages, this is basically like benefits that will allow your character to perform special combat maneuvers. Your character will have maybe contacts or resources that will get him out of trouble at certain moments. And you also have powers, and powers are really cool. They are basically like a list of templates that you can modify in many different ways so your characters have the ability to, I don't know, shoot flames from out of their palms, out of their hands, or maybe teleport, fly, super strength, anything you can think of. Maybe your character multiplies in clones of himself, or maybe, I don't know, you can think of so many different things and so many different ways in which you can build your own powers. And you also have complications, which are basically your character has motivations, and those motivations may be, I don't know, exploited by the villain or by different circumstances, and your character will have a pretty difficult or hard time dealing with them. But because you will be role playing those complications and trying to, I don't know, handle them in the most efficient way possible, you will be rewarded with what are called hero points. And hero points remind me a lot of fate points and destiny points, or even bennies in other games, that you can spend them to perform, to make changes in the story and to get different advantages according to the situation. And that's pretty cool. This system has a lot of flexibility. Now, when it comes to when your character is actually fighting or carrying out actions, you can also apply effort. And effort is basically, extra effort is going beyond the limit. So for example, maybe you want to have more actions during a turn, or maybe get a certain bonus or reroll your die, and you will be able to apply effort, but at the same time you will get more and more exhausted. You may even pass out from exertion, so that's something to consider. Now, attacks are handled pretty well here. It's the basic procedure of rolling initiative and taking turns to make attacks. There are many different ways to attack your opponent. You may even try to trick him, or you may slam him. There are many things, everything that you can think of that you can carry out in a combat situation, you can do it here. But the cool thing here is that, for example, you rolled your d20 plus modifier, and you try to beat a certain number, a defense class in this situation. And if you manage to win, your attack deals damage, which is usually a fixed amount of damage. Your opponent will have to make a save of toughness versus damage rank plus 15, and if you're lucky, you may leave him incapacitated right away. Or if you, I don't know, just damage him, but he doesn't end up with a huge failure in his roll, he will have -1 or -2 penalties. They are kind of cumulative, according to different powers and abilities, that will make that enemy more vulnerable to your attacks. So I kept getting this image of a superhero pummeling his foe with a barrage of furious fists, and the foe gets weaker and weaker with each attack, and that's pretty cool. And the way you can use your powers, wow, there's so many possibilities. You can carry out all those over-the-top situations you see in comic books or anywhere else. And so combat really feels really fast. The only thing that slows it a bit down is the conditions that I was telling you about, but those conditions at the same time make combat, it feels really tactical and deeper than you usually expect from a superhero game. Now, there's a great chapter when it comes to that gives tips about game mastering, about creating adventures, running the game, and it has a gallery of NPCs and animals, because I don't know, maybe your character can transform into different animals or summon animals. You can do that as well. And the game comes with like a pair of mini campaign settings, Emerald City and Freedom City, and you also get two adventures with a PDF. Which is Ghost Town, which starts out as a theft, but turns into a very serious supernatural or occult conspiracy. And then you get Time of the Apes, which has to do with parallel dimensions and kind of like Planet of the Apes kind of situations. We also get, as I was telling you, the reference tables, because in this game everything has a reference of what your hero does or will be able to do. Maybe your hero is strong enough to pick a tank and pick it up and throw it like a missile weapon, or maybe you're able to cross the entire planet just running around like Flash, and you get all the information of what your hero can do in comparing it to different I don't know, distances and weight and time, etc. And it's all very simple to do. Now let's talk about what I think about this game. Well, I think the player's handbook itself it's just amazing. There's a lot of information here and a lot of information to create things. Because, for example, even modify existing things. If you want your character to be more of a gadget type character, like a gadgeteer, like Batman or Nightwing, you have a lot of rules on how to use devices, which are basically removable powers, and that makes those powers cost less because you have the disadvantage that an enemy could take that device away from you, or the device could be ruined by different circumstances. And so there are many ways in which you can modify your campaign and adventures to suit your playing style. I really can't find a serious negative point to this game. Just there's a bit of slight fiddliness when it comes to the conditions, but once you use them and you see them in gameplay, you're going to be really familiar with them, and you probably won't be even need to look them all the time, look at them in the tables and whatnot. Well, I highly recommend this game. I think this is the best superhero, the best modern superhero game I have seen when it comes to role-playing games. There are some pretty good old school games as well, but when it comes to modern ones, I think this is the best one. Well, thanks for watching my review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. See you later.